It's Monday. It's freaking freezing, and it's Monday, and we don't have snow. So I know I shouldn't be complaining, but what you don't realize is that people in the South want snow. We live in the South because we like the South, but we long for an inch of something so that we have a week off from school. It's true. It's true. True story. But that's not really what I'm talking about this morning. I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about without telling you. Okay, you ready? I have a college senior. Now, what you do is you guess what I'm thinking about. Did you guess? No one guessed. College admissions. So my subscriber and I were just having this conversation, and I was like, this is a very popular conversation. And obviously for a lot of people, they just have PTSD. Yes, admissions decision. Thank you, Lisa. But this is my first time doing this since I was in high school. And I will tell you, I was not even nervous about where I was going to get in. It was easier to get in back then, I guess. Of course, so I applied. Where did I get in back then? I applied to University of Tennessee. I got in there. I applied to UNCW. I got in there. I applied to Wilmington, Carolina. I don't know if I got in there. My letter might have gotten lost because I never heard back. And my dad, I said, I didn't ever hear back from Chapel Hill. He goes, so if you all wonder where my sense of humor comes from and why you've raised wussies, this is why. He said, maybe they thought your application was a joke. And you know what I did? Did I cry? And no, I was like, you're probably right? I got a 980 on the SAT. And I don't know the new score ratio. My son took the ACT, but breaking 1,000 is sort of important, I think. And you could say, I'm not a good tester. Well, I don't know if I'm a good tester or not, because all I know is the night before the SAT, I was at a hog farm at a party. Waiting for the acceptance letters with the kids was the toughest thing because they were so stressed, which made me so stressed. So, Ellen, I have worked really hard to not make this stressful for my son. And I will tell you, that has been really hard because my natural instinct is, oh, welcome, Bonnie. My natural instinct is to get everybody around me stirred up into a frenzy because that makes me feel better. Ask my husband. I mean, I do it a lot. FAFSA is a plane to fill out. I hadn't done the FAFSA. You couldn't apply to school without filling out FAFSA? Really? The FAFSA is to get the money, right? Why couldn't you apply to school without filling it out? Because you needed the money to go? Well, anyway, I hadn't even gotten into that yet. I'm a worrier. It's all email. Yeah, there's no more letters. Nobody's mailing you anything. And if you're like me, you don't even know the way to get the password in. My daughter got a 1390 and did not get into the University of North Carolina. Well, I am not surprised. I mean, I just think it's a total crapshoot. But are you from North Carolina? Everyone has to fill out the FAFSA. Well, I didn't fill it out. What does that mean? My husband stirs everybody up and leaves the room. Yes. We needed funding. Well, now in North Carolina, if you make less than, I think it's, now don't quote me on this, $75,000, You go to Carolina with no money, and if your family makes less than maybe 125 or 150, you can go to Duke for free if you're from North Carolina. But maybe you have to apply to FAFSA for that. Well, y'all are stressing me out about something else. Don't start this up. We're not talking about FAFSA. Waited for the letter. Yeah, the thick one was good because the thick one meant that you had like a pamphlet. The thin one, no good. And I went to Meredith, where I applied very late and convinced them to let me come. And loved it. Loved it. And went to Carolina for my master's degree. And went to NC State for my PhD. And you know what? I think you have to acknowledge, and I wrote about this yesterday, and I thought, maybe somebody needs to hear it. We all want our children, particularly your oldest child, a son, this like the sunshine of your life, to have everything that he wants or she wants. We want their lives to be so wonderful and perfect, and they are wonderful, and we know they're wonderful, and we want people to see it, But my pediatrician long ago said, I was about to do chemo. I had a 3-year-old, a new 2-year-old, and a 3-month-old. And I was so worried for Thomas, the oldest one, because I was like, I'm going to be sick, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And the pediatrician really did say to me, Adrienne, how is her name? Dr. Nita Coleman, wonderful pediatrician. How is he going to learn empathy if he never has to go through hard things? And boy, if there's some advice that I think is important to share, it is that statement. And it is gone, you should teach in childhood education. Well, I used to. I taught at NC State. If that has ever pushed my parenting in a good direction, it's been there. And I was thinking last night, like, we want our kids to have open doors, but a lot of us are where we are because of closed doors. Like, I was pregnant before little Thomas. I was due, I don't know, I think around October 7th of 2020. And had a miscarriage. It was so sad. Well, lo and behold, I ended up having little Thomas December 20th. So I would have never had him if that first pregnancy had worked out, And boy, if that miscarriage wasn't a closed door, I don't know what was. I mean, I was so brokenhearted, I hadn't been that brokenhearted since I'd lost my own brother. So he's here because of a closed door. And maybe it was, you wanted to marry somebody and they broke up with you and you just cried and cried. Clearly, I remember this. But, this is who you wanted to be with, and this was what you wanted, and it didn't happen. And now you're here. You're in this space because somebody said no. And I'm not a minister. I just play one on TV. But, like, this is my person, and this might not have been the person that I thought I was going to be with initially, But he's my person. Or this is that baby that showed up after the miscarriage. The baby that's waiting to hear from college this week. And I couldn't love this person more if I just couldn't. He's just so special to me. But you know what? There's not a mom out there that doesn't think her baby is special, or her child applying to state or Carolina or for the Moorhead Scholarship or the Park or the Wake Forest or wherever it is you want to go. And we're all in the same boat. And, you know, a writer friend told me long ago, there's room in this world for all of us. And I think that's something that I have not done well with this college admission thing. I think we really have to, maybe you fake it till you make it. And so I have been telling myself, this is going to be fine. This is going to be fine. This is going to be fine. And that closed door thing, I tell you, I have more peace this week than I've had all along. I'm not really a stressor. I don't, if you can't tell. I mean, you know, I can walk around and like step over cat puke on the way getting an autistic person to school, you know, but this has stressed me out. And I think we really do have to back up. And if you are a senior mom this week, and I say mom because I'm a mom, I'm not a dad. I would encourage you not to ask your senior one question about if they have gotten the email. Not to check it, not to wonder when it's coming, not to say nothing about nothing. Now, if your child wants to talk to you about it, then talk to them about it. Tell them about closed doors. Prepare them that they might not hear what they want to hear. If they hear what they want to hear, then great. But it's always good to have just low expectations, and then you're not so disappointed. And honestly, I would say right now, so my son Thomas thought he wanted to go to Carolina and really likes Carolina. And then we went NC State, and he really liked NC State. And I was so relieved, which is, you know, maybe a pot calling the kettle, but I was so relieved because I was like, I just hate for him to have all his eggs in one basket and get disappointed. But you know what? Life is disappointing, and it's okay. But what I said to him is, you might not get in, and it's nothing against you. You're a person on a paper, and there are tens of thousands of you. And that day, maybe you didn't strike somebody's fancy. It's nothing about you. You know, it's just like if you go in Barnes & Noble and you pick out a book, right? Sometimes you're like, well, I'm going to get this book. Or sometimes you say, well, this book is good because, you know, Liam, the autistic T-Rex, goes to school. You know, maybe you pick the book by its cover. Or maybe you pick the book because this is Cincinnati. Maybe you pick the book because it looks fancy. You know, who knows? Who the frick knows? My son didn't get into his early action school, and it was such a blessing. Yes, some people have already found out, and so, la, 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 you don't have to be here if you already know. But I wish high schools did a better job explaining and telling all this better. You know, I think high schools do an awful lot. I think one thing that high schools do that I think is not a good idea, and honestly, I don't know if my children's high school does this, and nor do I know if the public school in my town does that. But when you reference South Carolina, well, my son got into South Carolina, and he has not heard from North Carolina. So I don't like when schools make a big deal out of so-and-so is going here. It's stressful. It's stressful to the other people. Or maybe there's Instagram or these and I have friends that have done these, and I love my friends, and I don't think there's glare in your glasses. Well, that's because it's sunny. I don't think it's done intentionally to hurt people's feelings. And we don't need to pussyfoot around everybody our whole life. But all these videos on Instagram, it's a lot. You know, these kids, listen, I look at Instagram and I'm like, darn it, This person has 9 kids. She's pregnant with quadruplets. And she just made homemade lasagna noodles for dinner while teaching her child about Picasso. I mean, that's how I feel when I read Instagram. So imagine how teenagers do. So I think that's the part of being really aware of what is around them. And sometimes this stress is maybe from other students, you know? But I know I was causing stress because I was trying to casually ask questions. And evidently, I'm not passive enough. So Sheila's saying my kid's school does that. Sheila, that Instagram account at our children's school at Episcopal is not put on by Episcopal. A student puts that out. So that's the thing. So students are putting this stuff out, you know? How about senior spurs now and they announce when kids are going? Yeah, I think it's stressful. I think it's stressful. I just am not, I don't love that. So you're not going to hear me. I'm not going to get on here and be like, dun, 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 Thomas got in, or dun, 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 Thomas did not get in. You know, that's up to him to share, and I would encourage him to be thoughtful of how what happens to him makes other people feel. If he doesn't get in, if he does get in, you know, I feel really strongly that we can own things. We don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed or, again, it's a door. And if that door doesn't close, there's going to be another door, you know? And for this matter, if you go to a college or you don't like it or you don't get in and it's really where you want to go, then you can go somewhere else for 10 minutes and transfer over there. You know? I mean, Carolina never even wrote me back and I went there and got a master's degree. So that's okay. It is okie dokie. I wouldn't have met my husband if I hadn't gone to Meredith College. I wouldn't be living in Edenton. I wouldn't have Amos. I wouldn't, you know, be sitting here with a mug that somebody sent me that says Passiva Debutantis. I wouldn't have this blog. And wow, am I thankful for all those things, you know? So thankful. So anyway, just my tip for the week, Monday tip for the week. How did you meet Thomas? Well, if you ask my husband how he met me, his story is different than my story. So he says that he met me when he was a pledge at the KA house and that I was sitting up on a porch and I was smoking and flicking cigarettes and he was instructed to pick up the butts. This is not true. I think I met him at a football game and he didn't give me the time of day for years. Our high school stopped putting up the acceptance board. The acceptance board. I mean, you might as well put up on a sheet who's going to a gas chamber, like by name. I mean, it's terrible. Obviously, it's not as bad as that. But, like, that is stressful for kids. And it's okay. Like, our kids can have a little stress, and that's okay. But, I mean, don't beat them while they're down, you know? You feel like you're in church. Well, good, Carol. Maybe you'll be extra pious this week. So anyway, I am not asking any questions. I'm not even pretending that I know it's college week. I'm not saying nothing about nothing. And I'm sure he's going to know that I'm trying not to say something because my senior is very perceptive. Anyway. Anita said that's what my son didn't get in William and Mary and walked in the next semester. Ding, 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 ding. Did you purchase your walking mat? Do I look like I've purchased my walking mat? No, I haven't. And now I'm going to write a book chapter. And then, how did Amos do today? Oh, he did so well, I let him use my other phone. And after he said, school makes Amos a bad boy, he said, Mommy, I really like school. That's because he's on the phone. I do hope my youngest will find her door. Me too. Me too. Yeah. It ain't easy. So cheers to this. I see you. And once we do here, we're going to be relieved, because then we can start stressing about where to choose or not choose, which could be another wonderful benefit. Oh, I like Clemson. I think Clemson is very hard to get in. We're realistic in this family. We don't just apply to places because, like somebody said, was he applying to UVA? What you talking about, Willis? We ain't applying to UVA. I mean, we don't live in Virginia. If you want to get into UVA, I value that realisticness is a real thing. And if you're a parent that doesn't encourage somebody to be realistic, good luck to you. That ain't how we play the game in our house. You know, like if you want to do, I'm not saying you can't get in, but my son Russell was like, I want to go to, Duke Med School. And I was like, well, then your butt better be in the library on Sundays, because this is what's required, and here's where you are, not in a mean way, but like, you want to go to this school, then they require I think like UVA for where we live, where my boys go to school, would be a 98 GPA. Well, you ain't got any 98 GPA, then don't apply. And if you want to, then get the 98 GPA. Who's we? Thomas is applying. Me, I'm we, Stacy. Damn it. This is we. This is why I'm struggling. Yeah, there's no letter. They get an email or they log into something. We. It's too we. Tell some mama that her first baby going to college and getting in it, and we. It's a personal affront to me. I'm invested. I'm heavily invested. This is my person. We. So there. Come subscribe if you need a safe place to fall.